Yo guys, Tom here. Simple video today on the Traxxas Sledge here, and that's just replacing the front dog bones. It's a pretty simple job, but I figured some of you guys probably have not done this before, and it's a little more involved than doing the rear, but again, nothing too difficult, so I just wanted to show you how to do that, and hopefully it helps out. Stay tuned. Okay guys, first step, take the front wheel off here. Easy. Make sure you drop it on the floor. That's always helpful. Oh, there we go. I found it. Next step here, we just got to disconnect the camera link. Let me get this camera turned around and zoomed in a little bit, help you guys see. Okay, so real quick before we get started, I want to show you guys why I'm replacing these. I mentioned this in a previous video, but essentially what happened to me, and you could even see it on this one here. These are the pins that ride in the outdrive cups by the center diff here. And what happened is I noticed on both sides that this pin here had pushed out. It's supposed to be pressed into this steel dog bone shaft here, and it slid out almost, I'd say, completely out of one side, and mostly, like, it was probably just about halfway through this dog bone on one side. And it did chew up my lower suspension arm here a little bit, but it happened on both sides, which I thought was kind of strange. So I called up Traxxas. They sent me some replacements. They even sent me replacement arms. Pretty much just asked whatever got damaged, let us know, and they were good about sending me everything out. Took about 4 or 5 days to get the parts, but this is the new one here, and you can see how even that pin is pressed in. That's how it should look. So I don't know that this is any big issue. It could just be like a manufacturing defect with these pins or the dog bone itself, but keep an eye on these front and rear and center shaft, and just make sure that they're evenly spaced so that you don't have any issues. If you do start noticing one pushing out, definitely contact Traxxas, let them know. Okay, so we got the wheel off here, and we're just going to be disconnecting your camber link from your steering knuckle here, and also the tie rod from the steering knuckle. All right, and also, while we're at it, I'm going to take a 2mm and we're going to loosen the set screw that's inside here so we can release this pin, your hex pin here. So we do that first actually, and I'll show you real quick. Now you're going to have to hold this hex here. So what you could do, I dropped this earlier. If all you have is the stock tool, there is a hole in the middle of that, so you could, you know, use this, and it's a little tricky to see in there to line it up, but you can absolutely do it like that. They're not crazy tight. They don't need to be crazy tight. Then just take something and slide that pin out, and there's your pin for your hex. Hex comes off, so if you guys ever need to remove these for any reason, that's how that works. I'm gonna go ahead while we got the 2mm on here. Remove this. You can kind of sneak and not remove this and just kind of pivot it out to the side, but it makes it kind of awkward, so I'll show you guys. It's one additional screw. It only takes a second. Pop that one out, go back to the 2.5 here, and we're going to pull this off.
So the top, the camera link.
Then we need to remove the screw on the top and the bottom here.
So I'm just unscrewing this bottom screw here.
Okay, once you get the top and bottom screws out, just be careful because there are metal bushings in here, like little spacers, that one pushes up from the bottom into the top part of the C-hub and one pushes down into the lower part of the C-hub, and that's kind of what this inner hub rotates on. So just be careful when you pull this out, those are going to kind of fall all over the place. I'm going to show you, you can actually tilt this kind of flat, and then this will slide out to the side, and that's one way of doing it. But I'm going to show you, just because I think it's going to be a little bit easier. I'll show you. Just remove this lower outer hinge pin here, and I think it's going to kind of make the whole job easier. So just remove the nut from the back of that. There's your pin, and now this whole assembly is going to come out, and now you can see you can't slide this out directly toward you. It has to kind of go out toward one side, either the front or the back. So just push it out, and here's that one bushing from the top that fell out. The dog bone slides out from there, and just kind of make note, here they are. These are the the two little sleeves. And again, one just, they go in from the inside and push out. So that would go in there. This one goes up to the top. And just set these aside. So a little bit fiddly when you go to put it back together, but just know that they're there so you don't drop them and they go rolling on the floor under something in your shop there, like what always happens to me. Anyway, and here's your hub assembly, and here's your front CV. So now you see, you know, similar to the back, except for the front pin is kind of captured in there. And let me just wipe this off a little bit here. So now to get this out, when you order this part here, I'll show you the new one here. This is the part for just the dog bone itself, 9558. It does not come with this stub axle, right? It just comes with the actual dog bone. So you need to disassemble this to install this if you have any issues with these pins, right? Now, if you have another issue with something, you know, the stub axle itself, obviously you're gonna be ordering all new parts and assembling this from scratch. So, but I'll show you how to remove this. So it has this spring clip that goes around the perimeter here that holds the pin in. And it's essentially like, kind of like you'd have on a key ring. It's just that same idea. It's just like a spiral wound. So what you need to do is catch the edge. I'm just using a small little flat blade screwdriver here. Just catch the edge of it, right? And push it over either toward the front or the back, and then just kind of work your way around, like, you know, honestly, like exactly like you're putting a key on a key ring, right? So just keep working around. What's funny is I realized I had a cut on my thumb the other, like last night, and I'm like, how the hell did I cut my thumb? And now I'm realizing I cut it doing this because this edge is pretty sharp and it's digging into the exact spot where I cut myself, so be careful, it's kind of sharp. Yeah, so that comes off. That's your little kind of spring ring there. And then you'll have this, you'll see the pin. Just push that out. And be careful because more stuff is gonna fall apart here. So take that pin out. Now your dog bone comes out. There's really nothing left in here, but you do have another pin in here that you're going to want to pull out. So that's it. That's your dog bone. Take that, ditch the old one, take the new one. This little barrel here goes into the new dog bone. Line it up so that you can see the hole in that barrel because the pin needs to go back through there. Take that, the pin is going to go through these holes. Take that, line it up. Take your pin. And this can be a little tricky lining everything up. There you go, pop that back in there. Take your spring clip ring thingy here. And I think it's easier because they give you, there is like a kind of a tapered cone shape on this. It's easier to do it from the front and kind of work your way back down. So again, just take like a little flat blade. And just kind of work it back down. And this is exactly why I want to make a video for you guys doing this, because compared to doing the rear dog bones, there's definitely a few more steps involved. Rear dog bones are pretty much pop the camber link off and that's it. So that's it. Just make sure it's all kind of lined up again and these aren't overlapping or twisted up. And that's it. So now it's just reassembly time. Okay, so now take your assembled dog bone, slide it back into the hub. Just make sure that these bearings didn't come out on you and fall out somewhere, so that you have a smaller diameter external bearing and a larger diameter internal bearing. Also, good idea if you have been running your truck a decent amount, make sure these aren't worn out, because if these are really worn out, they could kind of let loose on you, which would allow this stub axle to push out further out on through the hub. And when that happens, you run the risk of this dog bone sliding out of the output drive cup. Just make sure these stay in good condition. A good thing to check these pretty often. So that goes in there, right? I'm gonna set this aside for now. Now your C-hub here, it reattaches. Just, it's always good to do one set at a time. So if you have to look back for reference, you can take a look at the other side. But you have your mount for your camber link that goes on the top, and the C position fits in this direction. So you're going to have, like that. So then you take, if you hold this horizontally, it's easier to to do this. So take your dog bone, slide it in through the hole here, and just make sure these bushings don't push out, and make sure your link here on your steering knuckle for your tie rod is facing toward the rear. So that goes in like that. And it could be a little tricky because you're kind of dealing with these little spacers moving around. Kind of helps if you spread the C-hub apart a tiny bit. Then just go ahead and take your screws. These did have blue Loctite on from the factory. I'm gonna go ahead and add a tiny bit. Okay, so I'm gonna go and add a tiny bit just because anytime you remove the screws, you're kind of losing a little bit of that thread lock on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add a tiny bit on each screw because these are going into in this hub here. There is a little captured nut, like a metal steel nut. So then you simply just kind of reassemble in reverse order. Get these screws in, get both in before I snug them up. They just need to be snug. You don't have to go crazy wrenching them tight, even though they are going into a metal nut. It still is captured in plastic, so you don't want to go crazy. You know you have it right when you should have some pretty smooth steering here. But that stub axle needs to be pushed all the way in or it's going to get jammed up. So this should be able to turn pretty easily. And then just take the hinge pin here, slide it back in. Make sure your dog bone, I mean, you can reposition this later after you do the hinge pin, but just make sure that goes in the slots on your output drive cup. That's that, and then it's pretty much just reattaching your links here. Okay, that's it, guys. Hopefully that helped out. I'm really hoping it's not going to be an issue with these things that you guys have to go out and do that. But at some point, all of this stuff wears out. You're going to have to do this eventually. Even if it's just disassembling it to inspect or replace these bearings in your hub, it's a good idea just to kind of know how this all goes together. And you can probably see I'm running some paddle tires. These are the Proline. I'll show you real quick here. Proline Slingshot 3.8. Really nice looking tire, 17 mil hex on the back. They fit right on. They have the proper offset, so the truck is the exact same width as it was stock. And compared to the stock wheels, these are 100 grams lighter a piece. So they should kind of behave a lot differently. So I'm gonna go and test these out in sand pit hopefully today, and I'll have a video of that coming up soon. So thanks for tuning in, guys. If you like these videos, please subscribe, hit the like button. Any questions, comments, and I'm probably gonna do a video on just like general cleaning and maintenance for not only the Sledge but all other RCs. So tune in for that. And stick around. I'll see you guys later.